So, I always say the same red flags you ignore in the beginning are the same red flags that end your relationship and that ruin the experience of your relationship. And unfortunately, it happens all the time. Another thing I always say is the vast majority of relationships start because people choose to overlook the red flags. All right. And so it's just one of those things where we get in this bad habit of thinking it's not that bad. Maybe it's not as red as it actually is. We can handle it. We can deal with it. No big deal. Or maybe we shouldn't worry about it because they have all these other good qualities. Whatever it is, people choose to push past it, but it still comes back to haunt them. And we have to learn to stop doing that. Especially, not even especially, just for everybody, but as I'm speaking to the women right now, you can save yourself so many headaches and so much wasted time and so much negative energy by just acknowledging the red flags when they're there. But I think one of the problems is sometimes you're not even realizing that you're overlooking them. Like, but because you convince yourself that it's not that bad, you don't really grasp how much you're overlooking it. It's very easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new relationship, the potential of it, the hope of what this will become, and not realize, no, there are clear things that need to be addressed. But I want to help you understand when you are actually overlooking these red flags. And one of the first things that happens when you do that or one of the first signs that shows you that is when you are constantly defending this man to other people. Okay? So, I'm a firm believer that we have to be careful with letting other individuals into our relationship. We have to be careful of the sources that's giving this information or this opinion on our relationship. However, I don't want us to ignore the fact that when there is a reoccurring theme, when multiple people, for whatever reason, have something to say about this man you are with, then there is a problem. And if you are always having to defend him, chances are, I'm not going to rule out that there are going to be some cases where it's a genuine misunderstanding, okay? However, in most cases, if you're constantly defending him, it's because something is actually wrong. And you're not seeing it, but everyone else is seeing it. And so when you find yourself, or if you find yourself in that kind of a dynamic, you've got to be willing to take a step back and say, wait a minute, everyone can't be wrong. Let me at least look into what they're saying. Let me at least address it, okay? And if you are running from addressing it, if you are running from acknowledging it, you have to ask yourself, why? Why am I unwilling to confront this issue? Because again, one of the reasons why people overlook red flags is because they just want this relationship that bad. Maybe they're tired of being alone. They have hopes of getting married or having kids, and they feel like their clock is ticking. Whatever it is, there could be something that has created a fear of walking away. And deep inside, if I address this red flag, this is going to go south. This ain't going to work out because deep inside, there is a real problem here. There is a real issue, but you're hoping you can ignore it long enough to where it will just go away and disappear. That's not the way to go about things. So you've got to recognize if multiple people are saying something, where there's smoke, there's fire. The second sign or second way to know you are overlooking the red flags in a man is when you are holding on to his potential, not his reality. So a lot of women look at a man's potential and what they believe he can be. Some may argue it's an innate thing that many women do. And I understand when you believe in someone and you want to be there for them and be encouraging and supporting and be a part of the journey to them becoming greater. I get it, right? But it is in most cases the wrong approach. And it's going to cause more bad than good, okay? Now, let me first make this clear. The reason why this is a sign of you overlooking a red flag is because if you have to hold on to potential, that means his reality doesn't look that good, all right? That means there's something wrong right now. So an example, let's say he does not have his stuff together, which may be a symptom of him being a lazy man, him having no ambition, right? But you believe, well, if I can just motivate him, he can become that great man. But I don't know if many of you realize that if you have to make him be motivated, that's not sustainable. Like if he does not have the desire within himself to become better, you're going to find yourself trying to push, pull, and drag, and it's going to weigh you down. It's going to consume you. It's going to stress you out to the point where now you're taken away from what you need to be doing in your life. Now, again, have some women been successful? Yes, but in being successful, what was the price they had to pay? I would argue that many, when we say success, we got to look at it two ways. There are some genuine success stories where the woman stuck with him, he got his stuff together, and they got on to be married and live happily ever after. That has happened. But then I got way more stories of either him never get his stuff together, or he gets his stuff together through her doing, and when he finally gets to this higher level, he leaves her for somebody else. All right? Or the fact that even when he gets his stuff together, you as a woman, you still see the version of him that you had to basically make into a man. So you don't view him as your partner. You view him as your son. You raised this dude. You made him who he is. And if you have to do that, it's going to be hard for you to revere him, to respect him, to be sexually attracted to him in a way that's healthy for the relationship. Because you know it's all due to your doing. So you don't really see him as that man who got his stuff together. You see him as that man that you have to lead to better things, to greatness, to whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, like you've got to recognize that holding on to this potential thing is just a dangerous approach. If he does genuinely have that potential, and I always say sometimes potential is a figment of your imagination, but if he genuinely has it, well, you can encourage him and support him as a friend. Plain and simple. You don't have to get romantically involved, because if you do, you are actually taking away the incentive for him to work harder, or one of the big incentives that pushes a man to want to become more. One of the biggest driving forces of men trying to achieve more is gaining the favor of a woman, or of women in general. All right? So if he's already getting it from you, he's like, I'm good. I ain't got nothing else to do. So if you are, again, holding on to his potential, that is a sign you are overlooking his current red flags. All right, so let's move this along. And the next thing on the list that shows you are overlooking a man's red flags is when you are constantly sacrificing in the relationship. So first, let's start with understanding sacrifice versus compromise. Now, one, let me make clear, I do believe that in relationships, there may be moments where we have to make sacrifice, okay? I think that if it's a constant thing, we're crossing into a bad place. I also think that we have to be very mindful of what kind of sacrifices we're making, because if the sacrifice you're making takes away from you in a way that now it diminishes you, or it it doesn't allow you to be able to show up in this relationship the way that you need to, that's a big problem, all right? But if that's not the case, then okay, again, sometimes there will be sacrifices. But to me, the difference between sacrifice and compromise, which compromise is where it's a much healthier, better thing, in my opinion, that we should try to find more in relationships, is compromise is finding that middle ground, a mutually beneficial agreement. It may not be completely what you wanted at first or completely what he wanted, but maybe we come to a mixture of those things where we're still happy, we're still good, and we can move on from here in a healthy manner. Sacrifice means I'm just giving up what I need or desire or I wanted, whatever the case may be. It's more of a one-sided thing. When you are sacrificing for that person, it's because they're essentially taking from you and you're giving something up, okay? And so when you're constantly doing that, you gotta ask yourself, why? For a man to put you in a position that you have to constantly sacrifice things that you need, want, desire, or even sacrifice who you are, that is a red flag, because something is out of alignment here. That should not need to continuously happen, all right? And the fact that if he's asking for your sacrifice, or he's putting you in a position to sacrifice without giving something in return, which brings us back to compromise, then it leads me to believe that in many cases, if not all, he's taking advantage of you. He's using you. Because why is it him always take? Why is it you? Where is his sacrifice? You see what I'm saying? Now, it's one thing if you're both sacrificing together, something that you both wanted. That's different. You know what I'm saying? But if it's just you, for his sake, for his happiness, or whatever it is, that's a problem. So you got to step back and again, ask yourself, why do I keep doing this? Or better yet, why do I keep accepting this? And in most cases, the answer is because you're afraid. You're afraid to walk away, or you're afraid he will walk away. And you're afraid of what that means if this relationship ends. Again, maybe the fear of being alone, maybe the fear of seeing your dream of marriage and kids, leave you right now. Whatever it is, it's fear driving you. And that's an unhealthy place to be. So you've got to be mindful of that. And if you bring it to a man, you bring that to his attention, that you feel like, well, you're constantly sacrificing and he's not giving that in return, and all he has is excuses for you and just nothing that says, all right, well, now let me do my part too, then yeah, it's just time to walk away from that man. Well, another reason why, or another way to know you're overlooking the red flags in a man is when you stay with him even when you don't feel safe and secure, okay? So there could be various reasons why you don't feel safe and secure. But one, if you don't feel safe and secure, that's there's a reason for that. Now, this just kind of hit me, so let me mention this. If you know deep within your struggle to feel safe and secure is not about this man, but about unresolved issues from your past, that's a completely different story. So I do not want you to project past issues onto your current situation. You got to recognize when, no, it's not really him, it's me. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great thing when you can look at yourself in the mirror, hold yourself accountable, and recognize when you have things you need to work on, all right? And this is why it's so important to take time to heal from your past. Because when you don't, sometimes it can get hard to recognize if this is a past issue or this is really about the current issue. Sometimes people don't realize how whatever is off right now in the current situation may be due to the energy that you brought in because of what you haven't resolved from your past. All right. And of course, this can happen with the man or a woman. But either way, we we don't realize the impact our past issues can have. Many people think they've moved past something, they're okay. And then what happens is they get in this new relationship and now they're triggered. They're getting triggered by all these different things. And some may not quickly recognize that those triggers are really stemming from your past. So before I move on any further, let me say this. Please get your copy of Love After Heartbreak. It's a book that I wrote on how to heal. It gives you all the steps as if we had a one-on-one coaching sessions. It's what I've given to my clients all throughout the years. And I say this with confidence and certainty. Those who follow the steps see amazing results. I literally went out earlier today. I rarely get out the house, but I went out today. I went by myself to this restaurant, was eating at the bar. A woman came to me, recognized me, and she told me how she read that book. And this is a true story. She read the book. She did all the steps, how it set her free from this previous toxic relationship. She really started to love herself. And now she's with the man who she is in love with. And I believe she said they have plans on getting married. She's like, it's amazing now. So I know this works. So please go to loveafterheartbreak.com or click the link in the description or in the comment section and get your copy. It's a book that men can read, women can read. It's for everybody. But please read it and follow the steps. But going back to this issue of not feeling safe and secure. So again, you got to recognize if it's a past thing. But if it's not a past thing and it's really about this current person, their behaviors, maybe the way they talk to you, the way they don't make you feel valued in the relationship, whatever it is, if you are not feeling secure, but you're remaining, that means you are ignoring the red flag. You have to address it. You have to bring it to this man's attention. Now, listen, there are going to be some situations where the man genuinely does not understand how he is not helping you feel safe and secure. Okay? And unfortunately, I have to say this. There's a lot of men who are given very bad advice on relationships, who may, I'll give an example, who may purposely ignore their woman at times because they think, well, that's how you keep her interested and keep her attached to you. And they don't realize that that's how you're pouring in that insecurity in that woman. That's how you're creating those fears unnecessarily. But I think what's important to understand that even if he is that guy getting bad advice, if he's really into you and you address it in a calm, loving manner, I will always say that part, talking in a calm, loving manner, then I believe that in most cases, if not all, he will then understand and make changes. If he's really into you, he'll do that. So you do talk to him and do not just assume. But if it has been addressed, it has been brought to his attention, and he still continues with the things that make you feel or don't allow you to feel safe and secure in this relationship, you have to be willing to walk away. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get any healthier. And the reality is this. Here's the thing that I think a lot of women don't or overlook when it comes to staying with a man despite these types of issues or any kind of issues in a relationship. Let's just say, for example, you're hoping to get married, right? And this man has told you he just needs some time. Now, you guys, let's say you're 2 years in and you're not feeling safe and secure for various reasons. And one of those reasons may be because he has yet to fully commit. Now, if you don't let's just say it's been talked about. If you don't walk away at that point, but instead choose to stay, what is likely going to happen is you're going to start to have that negative energy or those fears, those concerns, those insecurities come out of you in different ways, all right? In ways that won't make you look good, that will make you look bad. And what you will essentially do is you will give this man ammunition to say, this is why I'm not ready to marry you yet. Oh, well, we keep arguing. Oh, we keep doing this. Oh, you've been having an attitude with me. But it's all because you won't feel safe and secure. And he hasn't addressed that. But if you stay there, you lead him to believe it's not that big of an issue. And you now allow him to use any negativity that comes from you as a reason to say, I don't want to move forward with you. So you don't do yourself any favors trying to stick it out when you are not really happy or at peace there. It is better to walk away and listen, there's nothing wrong. I'm a firm believer in you can say to the man, hey, these are my issues. When you are willing to fix it, if I'm still available, I'm willing to discuss it. And if things aren't at a better place, I'm open to reconciling or coming back together. I don't believe in the whole idea once an ex, always an ex or something like that. I do think that some people, it's right person, wrong time. They just need opportunity to evolve. That can happen. So we can stay open to the idea of things working out later, but to remain there while you hope for things to get better, in most cases, you're just doing yourself a disservice. All right. So now we're on to number 5. And the fifth reason why, or the fifth way to know you're overlooking the red flag in a man is when you are not able to be yourself with him, yet you remain in the relationship. So very often I've come across couples where the woman is suppressing herself. The woman is not being true to who she is. And again, we've talked about it multiple times in this video, this desire to want to make this work, this fear of him walking away, this fear of having to be alone again, whatever, causes her to accept things that are not healthy for her, all right? And it's just a very bad position to put yourself in, because if you cannot be yourself with this man, then how do you even think he's the right man for you? What that says to me is you are getting caught up in what you think you want and not understanding what you truly need. Because what you need is a man who embraces you for who you really are, who loves you at your core, who you can be free with and open with. If that cannot be achieved, the relationship is not worth holding on to. And it is not sustainable, because what happens in many cases, in many relationships, people will play a character, all right, hoping to make this work. And let's just use an example where they're both playing a character. This man's not being true to himself. This woman's not being true to herself. But they're to everybody else, they look happy and everything seems great. They're able to cross the line of marriage. They get married. At some point, though, the true self will rise to the top. It will come out. You can't suppress it forever. And then what happens is these people now see they are not a good fit. So sometimes when you see these marriages where it seems like, well, everything seemed great. What happened? How did this just happen out of nowhere? It didn't happen out of nowhere. It was waiting. It was doomed to happen. It was waiting it's been festering the whole time. All right? And both sides were feeling a piece of it in some way, shape, or form, but they were trying to hold on to the positive thoughts and what they want this to be. Or, again, when you fight so hard to have it, you have a hard time letting it go, even when it's not good for you. And so a lot of people, it's just not possible to sustain that over the long run and see a healthy, happy relationship. No. Now, some people, what happens is the true self comes out. They clash and they just stay together for various reasons, but they're miserable. And people will still think, oh, well, they've been together 25 years. That's a successful couple. No, longevity does not equal success. You can be together 12, 25 years and have been miserable 25 of those years. And I have examples, okay? I got a lot of examples, 25, 30. And again, not to say that there aren't long-term marriages that were genuinely successful, genuinely happy. Of course, there's going to always be ups and downs everywhere. But overall, it was a great, amazing marriage. But there's a lot more on the other side. So again, the bottom line is you got to be real with you. And for some of you, the struggle is you have yet to discover who you really are. Or I think the better word is you have yet to accept who you really are. Because I am a believer that, number one, we don't live this life to create who we want to be. We have to discover and accept who we were created to be, who we truly are, how we are actually wired. When we tap into that, we will now be able to live life at a much higher level. And many of us, we know things about ourselves, but we don't accept it because we think, maybe that's not a good thing. I'm gonna give you a quick example, and I'm gonna use myself. I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's hard for me to be satisfied. I'm always looking for more. So if on social media, if I get 1 million subscribers, well, okay, now I need 2 million subscribers. If I achieve this, I need to achieve the next level. I don't really even stay in the moment of celebrating my accomplishments. I got to get to the next level. I'm always driven to do more, right? And I remember thinking, okay, you know what? This is not good. I shouldn't be like that. And so literally, I decided for a month that I was going to turn that off. I was going to accept where I am, not try to do more, just stay where I'm at and be good with it. And that was one of my most depressed, sad, man, that month was horrible for me. I'm going to use this analogy. I felt like a neutered dog. I felt like the fire had been taken out of me. And what I had to realize after going through that experiment, you can call it, is that no, this is just who I am. And I'm wired like this for a reason. So then my decision was, okay, let me take this to God and ask God, rather than getting caught up in other people's opinions or even my own thought that for some reason this is a bad thing. No, let me talk to God, because maybe he put this in me for a greater purpose, which he did. I got that answer already, okay? So, and I know, because if I was not the guy who was driving to do more, I wouldn't be on this camera right now. I wouldn't be doing some of the things that I've been accomplishing and doing, and there's a lot more to come. So learning to stop fighting that gave me peace. And when you learn to stop fighting aspects about you that are truly who you are, you will be able to find peace. And in that peace, you will be able to love yourself more. And in that, you will be able to receive the person who can truly love you for who you are. All right, so we got a couple more to go. So the next one on the list of ways to know you're overlooking the red flags in a man is when you don't feel heard and yet you stay with him. So plain and simple, a lot of women are in relationships where they feel like their feelings are not valued, their thoughts are not valued, their input is not valued. Now, I'm gonna be very transparent with y'all. If you've watched some of the videos, you know I am a firm believer in, I believe that the man should be the lead of the relationship, right? Not dictator, okay? Don't take it the wrong way. Not tell you what to do and you just gotta do it. No, lead you in love, all right? But I believe and again, I have a video on why it is, in vast majority of cases, there's gonna be exceptions to every rule, but in the vast majority of cases, that's gonna be the dynamic that creates the most harmony. However, even in believing that the man should be the leader, a good leader still has to listen to his partner. A good leader still has to consider how you feel. So I do not tell men, just do what you want to do and don't care what she has to say. No, I say, you got to talk to her. You got to keep her in the loop. You got to make her feel like a valued part of this team. So if you are in a situation where you do not feel heard, again, address it, talk about it, let it be known. And I think this is another one of those examples where I think it is very common and I'll even use the word natural, for the woman who does not feel heard to go about this in I'm going to say negative manner, meaning in the frustration of not feeling heard and valued, some women will basically bulldoze their way into the situation. They'll try to overrun the man and no, you're going to listen to me now. You're going to hear me. All right. or they lash back out, or there's attitude because they feel hurt by it. And none of that really leads to resolution, okay? So we want to make sure that we don't take that route, and instead we address it in a calm, loving manner and talk about it and why you need this to feel valued and loved in this relationship, and you want him to listen to what you have to say. And if he refuses that, you let him go. But if you remain there, again, then why are you ignoring that huge red flag? Why are you letting him get away with that? And if you allow him to do that after you've fully addressed it in the proper manner, well, you're essentially saying to him, it's not really that big of a deal. Even though you're saying to him, you're saying it to him with your words, but your actions of not leaving and not giving any consequence here is basically telling him, nah, it's not that big. I'll just let her rant, say what she wants, and then, okay, whatever, back to the status quo. We're just going to keep doing what we were doing. So no resolution is found that way. So in all these examples, you see one of the main themes is you got to be prepared to walk away. If it's not going to be fixed and corrected, you got to. Otherwise, again, that's why this video is about, this is signs you're overlooking those red flags. All right, and now the last sign you are overlooking a red flag in the man, last but not least, is when you are ignoring your intuition. And I'm going to add to that, or you're ignoring what God has told you, okay? Now, let me say this. I really believe that intuition is an extension of God, all right? That is your spirit speaking to you. But I think sometimes when I make it a separate thing, what I'm speaking to is that some of you, there's the intuition that hits you, whereas some of you went into prayer, talked to God, you heard God say, leave that joker. He is not for you. Move. Or this is an issue. This can't be fixed. Let him go. And you was like, nah, God's tripping. Or, nah, I didn't hear God right now. That's me talking to myself. You rationalized past it. Either way, whether it was in prayer through hearing God, whether it's your intuition, when you are ignoring these things, that means you are overlooking red flags. And you've got to learn to stop ignoring that, because it's a blessing and it will save you from so many headaches. What we have to understand for those who are believers, and again, I think intuition, no matter what your belief system is a very universal thing, right? So just on that level for a second, you got to understand that there's something within us that can see what we cannot, all right? That understands what we don't. And for a woman, I believe it's even stronger. So when I talk about women's intuition, it isn't to say that men cannot or do not have intuition themselves, but I do believe that women have it strong, naturally, typically, on average, have it stronger than the average man, okay? And they're more in tune with it, typically. And so you've got to use that tool at your disposal, and you've got to understand that you're getting this feeling or you're hearing this thing for a reason. Now, for some of you, I know the struggle is, well, how do I know whether it's intuition or just fear, right? What I always say is, look at it like this. Fear requires logical deduction. Fear requires analyzation, meaning you could walk up to a bridge. If the bridge looks like it's broken, old, damaged, you're analyzing those things and you're saying, I can't walk across this bridge. There's no way I'm taking a chance walking across this bridge. You've come to that conclusion by analyzing. Whereas intuition requires no logic, requires no information. It is just what you sense. So an example of that is you walk into a room. Everything looks great in the room. Everything looks safe. There is nothing from a logical standpoint telling you there is a problem here. But your intuition says, get out now. Leave. Something's wrong. You're not supposed to be here. And you can't shake it. You can try to ignore it, but you are still feeling and sensing that. That is intuition. So in relationships, it's not about analyzing what he did, what he didn't do sometimes. It's about, what are you hearing from within? What are you sensing? That's why for some situations, a woman may have no evidence no specific evidence of a man cheating, yet still know he's cheating. She just senses it. Her intuition is telling her something is wrong. And then that leads her to investigating. And then she finds the evidence. But she only went on that trip of investigation because her intuition was telling her there was a problem. So stop ignoring it. And when it comes to God, yes, like you just have to trust what you hear when you're in prayer and stop trying to rationalize past it or diminish it, because all you're going to do is get yourself into bigger trouble. When you start to embrace your intuition, when you start to address these red flags properly, when you start to love yourself enough to where you will not operate out of fear, but out of what is truly best for you, then you are going to set yourself up for success and receiving the relationship that is the one that you truly deserve. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on the 7 red flags you're dealing with an emotionally broken man. Okay? And again, like I said, worshiping, celebrating it, holding it in such high regard. This is